What is the Steam Deck? Why should you care about it? Why do I care about it? If you've watched the podcast or listened to it, you'll know that we've talked about the Steam Deck. But if you're a little confused as to what the Steam Deck is, I'm here to tell you. There's a lot of confusion as to whether or not the Steam Deck is a portable gaming PC or a portable console. It doesn't really matter. It's a gaming device that you hold in your hand and you can take with you anywhere. Anywhere as in you can hold it in your hands and play it anywhere. It's not like a laptop where you have to basically have a table to play your games. You don't need a table. So let's talk tech specs. The Steam Deck has everything you come to expect from a modern controller, from the thumbsticks to the D-pads to the face buttons to the triggers, start, select. So let's start with the thumbsticks. The thumbsticks are as you expect. You can rotate them in 360 degrees. You can also click them, but they're also touch capacitive. What does this mean? Well, this means you can place your thumb on top of it, not even click it down, and an action will happen. It's a third layer to the thumbsticks, and honestly, I'm surprised this isn't getting more fanfare. The D-pad and ABXY buttons are as you expect. Also should mention that the ABXY buttons are of the Xbox layout, so get used to it. You've also got some menu buttons. I'm not going to go over those because those aren't that important, honestly. You've got L1, R1, L2, R2. And L2 and R2 are both analog triggers, so you can play racing games on this thing. Nice. It's got a headphone jack, so you know this isn't the latest in smartphone technology. And you've also got a Type-C port, so you know it's of the future. You've got volume buttons, you've got a power button, you've got a status LED, and you've got a micro SD card slot. So now we can talk about the elephant in the room. These buttons right here, what Valve calls L4, R4, L5, R5. As you might have guessed, these aren't necessarily standard to your average Xbox or PlayStation controller. In fact, very few controllers have these aside from, SCUF controllers or even the Xbox Elite controllers. But these are special in that you're not forced to map these to your face buttons. Instead, you can map them to be whatever buttons you want. We'll get more into Steam input later, but know that all of your controls are easily customizable. In any game, it doesn't matter what game you're playing. If you don't like the default controls, just swap them out. It's a game-by-game basis on a system-wide level, so the game won't even know you swapped controls. So this is where the good stuff is. So this is an AMD Ryzen-based CPU, and it's a custom one. It's got a 4-core, 8-thread processor, and its built-in integrated graphics is an RDNA 2-based graphics. So it's significantly better than any other integrated laptop graphics system on any computer currently. And the APU power 4 to 15 watts, so it doesn't sip that much battery. It's got 16 gigs of LPDDR5, which I believe this is among the first of its kind. You also have storage options in the form of 3 SKUs, 64, 256, or 512 gigabytes. Personal recommendation is if you don't have the experience to swap out an SSD, buy the most expensive one you can. Otherwise, just swap it out. It is, after all, a standard 2230 M.2 module. It's got a 1280 by 800 resolution display, which I believe is perfectly fine for a system of this size. I mean, the Switch is 720p, so what makes a difference, right? It's a 60 Hz display, to be expected. It's got Bluetooth 5.0, which, guess what? Bluetooth audio and controllers. It's got Wi-Fi 5. I kind of wish it was Wi-Fi 6, but, whatever. There's a lot of other specs, like how much it weighs, how big it is, how wide it is, the operating system, and, the type of SD card it can support. It's UHS 1, by the way. But the truth is, a lot of this doesn't really matter until you feel it in the hand. There's a lot more to weight and size than just how big or small it is. There's also the matter of weight distribution. Yeah, it weighs heavier than a Nintendo Switch, but chances are, because it's wider and its weight is more evenly distributed, you probably won't even feel a difference in the weight. Otherwise, if you think this is way too heavy for your hands, you should probably just go lift some weights instead. So the performance is great. There's benchmarks out there. There's videos by LTT and The Verge and stuff, and it shows extremely playable games at extremely high qualities. Like, medium to high at 60 FPS, or in, the case of like Cyberpunk, 30 FPS on high settings, which is insane considering you can't get high preset settings or 30 FPS on the base consoles. However, it seems to me that there's a lot of concern from a lot of non-PC gamer, non-PC savvy gamers that their biggest concern is the fact that this thing runs Linux. Yes, you can install Windows, but like the truth is, do you really even need to? I mean, what are you going to do on this thing besides game? And it seems like Valve is freeing PC gaming. Games that require anti-cheat, somehow Valve managed to convince them to let their anti-cheat software work in Linux. That would have never happened about 10 years ago. And now we're living in a new age, maybe the age of Linux. Maybe the year of the Linux desktop is humming. Is it coming? Maybe. We'll see. I might have to give it a shot one more time because it's been a solid like 10 years since I last tried to daily drive Linux. In the meantime though, I'll see you guys next time.